Hey friends, welcome back to our channel. Today's episode is all about the aftermath of betrayal. And I know we've had a lot of you reach out and share your story in our comments. And this is a topic that is really on our hearts. And we would just love to share what we have been through and what we have seen some other couples go through as well.
Yeah, you said it's been laid on our heart. We have felt that way. We felt God has laid it on our heart to walk through the couples that we coach with. What are some of the things that happen after betrayal? What is it normal how I feel?
Right.
Is what I'm going through normal? Is these intense feelings and triggers and emotions? Am I crazy, Adele, going through this?
Right.
That's some of the questions that we get from either you guys or our coaching clients that are going through betrayal.
Yeah.
And betrayal is really sneaky too.
It is. I mean, it is a pain that it really doesn't matter the level of betrayal. It still is a deep hurt. Betrayal hurts in a way that I haven't experienced anything else that's similar to it. After going through our healing journey, I have recognized that I was experiencing a loss during that time. And that's why it hurts so deep.
There is this intense sense of loss. Let's back up just a little bit. Betrayal doesn't have to be infidelity, being unfaithful to your spouse. It doesn't have to be that.
Right.
Betrayal is where trust is, and then trust is broken in the relationship. It's betrayal, right? But then there's different degrees, like different things that can happen. We can call it different levels of betrayal that can affect people completely different. And people's background, belief systems, all that affects it too.
Right.
Affects how we're going to feel, how we're going to respond.
Right. I mean, it could be something as small as hearing your spouse talk about you to someone else.
Yeah.
That could be a betrayal of the trust that you have in your spouse. And, why would they say those things? Or it could be, discovering pornography. There is an intense loss that's there for the betrayed on the other side.
I'm glad you said pornography because I've talked to some men who think there's no way that's infidelity. There's no way that's betrayal. That's on the computer or on the phone and it's somebody else and I'm not actually having an affair with a person.
Yeah.
But
if
it really does.
Knew.
Yeah.
If you only knew, if that's you, if you only knew what you were robbing yourself and your spouse from. Oh, that's a whole story that...
Sorry, we went there.
We're not going to get down that rabbit trail today, but I will link a video. Actually, Travis will link the video for more on the impacts of pornography.
Yeah, thanks for stopping us on that. We could go for a long time on that.
That's a topic that
So let's get back to what can they expect? Some of the things they can expect from being betrayed. And here's our caveat. We are not licensed therapists. We are coaches, marriage coaches, who we have our own experience and the experience of the coaching clients that we coach. And that's what we're coming from, is from this perspective. We're going to give you some ideas of what you can expect specifically in the initial stages.
Yeah, some of the losses that I experienced and others close to me have experienced was a loss of trust, a loss of hope. You may have been hoping in something for your spouse and they still made choices that didn't serve the marriage or even injured the marriage. There's also a loss of the marriage you thought you had. That is what I was experiencing. It was like a death of our marriage. And at that point, I didn't know if I was going to continue forward. So it felt like I was grieving this death of something that was just so valuable to me.
Yeah.
There's also a death of the perception of the relationship, that I also experienced.
That's a good point.
And it's my perspective of how I think our relationship is going. And I really thought we were just a normal couple with normal issues.
And I ripped that rug right out from underneath you of your perception got completely taken away. And that's a huge loss.
It was, yes. Another loss is disillusion of the covenant and vows. That went through my mind, like, our vows, you broke our vows, because that was something that was so important and I cherished that. And so you may be experiencing some of the same losses, or you may even be able to think of a loss that you're experiencing around betrayal. And if you feel comfortable, put that in the comments because other people may be feeling the same as you.
So let's talk about the first initial stages. And once again, these are generalized statements because, man, us humans are complicated, aren't we?
Yes, especially around something that is such a deep wound.
Let's talk about the betrayer. It would be good if you're the betrayed to know what the betrayer is going through. And if you're the betrayer, it would be good to know what you may be experiencing. And these are just some of the things you could experience. Guilt, shame, condemnation. There could be this freedom that the secrets that you were holding are gone because secrets make you sick. And there's this freedom that comes about like, oh, man, I feel so good about this. This prison that I was in is now lifted off of me and then slammed right on top of you.
Right.
And then after it's slammed on top of you, which I'm sure you want to have some things you want to say about that, could be this feeling of remorse, like, I really want to engage back into my covenant of marriage and I want to rectify this. And man, I am sorry I did this versus I'm sorry that I got caught. And there could be the person who just sorry they got caught and they choose to, you know what, now that this secret's out, now I'm free to go live this other lifestyle, and they choose to leave the covenant, which that's sad too. Either way, you as the betrayed need to get healing.
That's right.
And your healing is not dependent upon the betrayer.
Right.
It can't be. Your healing has got to come from God.
Yeah.
Do you want to address the prison or do you want to go into something else?
Well, it is. I love that analogy and that word picture because that's exactly how I felt. I felt like I didn't ask for this and I have a lot going on for me and I can't make sense of any of it because it was all very confusing. One of the first initial things I experienced was shock and disbelief. It was like so shocking to me that I was just stunned. I didn't know what to think about it. My heart was like paralyzed. It couldn't feel. It was just numb. Like, this is not my life right now. This is not me. This can't be my marriage. And then it didn't take long for the intense sadness to come. This grief, it's like a inner gut pain.
Yeah, I'm sure you're relating to this.
Yeah, that betrayal feeling is, everyone that I have talked to that has gone through betrayal has experienced that gut pain that is just such a deep loss and a deep grief.
Can you remember it now?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I'm not, I can't actually feel it
You're
now.
not affected by it the same way,
Not
but you
affected.
can remember back to what that experience was like.
Yes, I can.
Do you do that when you coach other women? Do you go back to that?
I do because it helps me relate to what other people are going through. And it's just so similar that I have found that that it just proves that there is a way forward through this.
That's good.
And that's what I want you to hear is there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but there are things that you're going to go through that you're not going to not want to go through. And there's this process of really surrendering to the grief process. There's actually 5 stages of grief. And we've already done a video on that. So we'll put a link here so that you can actually hear the remaining. I think there's 3 that we're not going to cover today. So in the 5 stages of grief, when I realized I was grieving and experiencing a loss, I really surrendered to that process. And I allowed it to be there, and I allowed myself to cry and grieve and process all of that.
You know, earlier you mentioned that they've got to go through the process, and I want to go back to that and just say you have got to go through the process. Like you were saying, Adele, you've got to do it because you are important.
Right.
Your healing is important. Your heart is important. And, well, let me say this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're experiencing what you're experiencing. It is hurtful, painful. It is a season of life that is really tough to walk through. And I'm sorry that you're going through it. And you have got to walk through it. You've got to, because you owe it to you. You're important. And there's nobody else nobody else that's going to take care of your heart like you can take care of your heart.
Betrayal is very much an intense emotional pain and a physical pain. And some of the things you may be experiencing are anger, a deep sadness,
Mood swings.
pain in the body. I had a deep pain in my heart that I was
remember you telling me
experiencing.
about that.
You may be experiencing mood swings, and you may even be challenged with being able to regulate your emotions. Like you can't prevent them from coming out. And that's why I didn't want to go anywhere, because I had no control over what was going on here. And it was the first time I'd ever gone through it. And so it was very confusing. I remember going to my counselor and I was asking her, like, am I going crazy? Like, I feel like I can't leave the house. And she reassured me that no, what I was actually experiencing were triggers. And that's when I realized for the first time that I was experiencing triggers and I didn't want to even leave the house.
I remember us going to a kids' fair.
Oh,
We're
it's ridiculous.
kids. It's a kids' event. And I remember you just saying, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing. And you were experiencing it.
Yep, and it was strong, and I wanted to run out of there. Because when you're experiencing triggers, it's actually taking you to the past, and it makes you feel like it's happening all over again. So you may see triggers show up.
Your mind doesn't know the difference between thought and reality. And so when that thought comes in, that trigger, you're normal. It just makes you feel like it's happening again. And so your emotions, your reactions are going to be as strong as if it's happening.
Right.
It's normal. You're normal.
Yeah, and actually next week's video is all about managing emotional triggers. And so stay tuned for that one, because we're going to go over some of the techniques and things that we've learned and we've seen other people use that are super beneficial. So check that out next week. So something else that may show up in the aftermath of betrayal is depression. And this can look like not feeling like getting out of bed, not feeling like taking care of yourself, doing like your normal hygiene routines, taking a shower, washing your hair, things like that take so much energy that you would just rather not do that. Simple tasks around the house are extremely difficult. Chores, taking out the trash is it's too much. And so you may be experiencing some of that as well.
It's the reason. Let's go to the reason. The reason is you're in survival mode.
Yes.
Anything outside of survival is not important. Taking a shower, brushing your teeth, getting out of bed, eating, taking care of the house, that's not important. And so a lot of times you also have to get engaged because you still have responsibilities in life.
Yes. Yes.
You may have kids.
What I did was I would schedule time. Like I remember taking days off work to just stay in bed. I would schedule time, telling you that I will be in the bathroom and I will be shutting the door and locking it and getting in the bathtub and crying for a long time.
I can remember
to
hearing
worship.
you out here
It's terrible.
in a locked bathroom.
Yeah, that's that gut wrenching. Like I couldn't stop it.
Man,
and
it hits me now.
I'm so glad.
Thinking about it.
I'm so glad you gave me that space to process that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It needed to come out. And I would just say the same to you. It needs to come out. You've got to process what you're going through.
Yeah.
It's the healthy way to walk through betrayal.
It is. It really is a healthy way for you. It's God honoring. It will help. Thanks. You're important. Your heart's important. And so it is healthy to be able to do these steps to be able to get your healing.
Yeah.
Talking about betrayal like this, Adelle and I created a phenomenal course on our academy. It's Walking Through Betrayal. And it is a step-by-step guide. It's a 9-session series where the betrayer and the betrayed can, in a healthy, God-honoring way, get the healing that you need in betrayal. What's really awesome is we also wrote a book on this particular topic. And we just finished the first draft of the book. I think it has 13 chapters in it. It's a great book. That it also is very similar to this video series in a step-by-step method. Would help a betrayer and a betrayed. in a God-honoring way, walk through betrayal in a very healthy way.
Yeah, your journeys are different. And if you aren't intentional about healing together, you may go in different directions. And so I believe that there is a very special, rich intimacy that is available for the couples that choose to walk this together and support each other's healing through the process.
I agree. I was just thinking back to the betrayer. This process is very confusing as well because there's a why behind the betrayal. And typically the betrayer and the betrayed wants to know, why did you do that?
Right.
And that road can be a tricky road to go backwards and look at the why. It can be an unhealthy way too. There's unhealthy ways to go look at that why that could lead the betrayer away from the spouse. Mm-hmm. And so I think in a God-honoring way, it's really important that both of the betrayer and the betrayed, in a healthy way, walk through it.
Right.
We do get asked often, how long am I going to have to walk through this road of getting healing from being betrayed? And I'll say this, we don't know. We don't know the answer to that. Each person has a different timeline, and it's based on a lot of circumstances. But I'll tell you a circumstance that really is beneficial is when the betrayer is showing up personally responsible for their own actions and their own healing, and they are engaged in getting the healing in their marriage over this betrayal. That is when we see that healing can more effectively take place in a shorter amount of time. Now, once again, we don't know what that time is.
Right. And then even further than that, we've seen where intensives make a huge difference in the healing process. Because when two people show up with open hearts, God can do so much with that. And when we do intensives, it is God-centered, and we work on the root level of the why. And you really discover so much about yourself, and the marriage is reconnected. And we have just seen the most amazing miracles. I say that we're miracle watchers because we get to watch God work. And it is the most fulfilling, exciting experience for us. But you may be that couple that needs an intensive because the pain is so deep that drawing it out over time would not serve you. And you need something that's more intense. The intensives are a rapid rate of healing, but only if two people show up with open hearts. If they're not open, it does not work. We can't want it more than you do. So.
I agree with you, Adele. Intensives are the way to go in getting the healing. It's like years of therapy in a very short period of time. So whether you choose to inquire with us about getting an intensive or someone else, we highly recommend you seek one out that would really serve you and would be Christ-honoring. So these are just some of the things they can expect in the initial stages of walking through betrayal. And you know what? We have a great audience. You have your own ideas. What did you experience if it wasn't something we said? What are some other things that people can expect going through betrayal? And I tell you what, I'm sure you have some ideas of things that have helped you going through betrayal. Put those in the comments too. I want to hear them. We want to look at them, and I'm sure other people will get a lot of value out of it too. Thank you guys for joining us on this episode. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye. Today's episode is inspiration from, I don't know. I didn't want to say that. Let me go back.
We're going to start that one over.
Rewind.
Did you say re-rind?
Mm-hmm. Rewind. Just didn't come out right. Yeah, that's what came out. Hey friends, and welcome back to our channel. We are, what do I want to say right after that?
I get it.
And thanks for joining us today.
I'm so thankful that you're doing the opening because I don't know what to say to open.
All right, let's try again.
Hey y'all, welcome, 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 welcome.
So we really hope that this episode of covering, no.